Welcome. I'm continuing with my review of Penumbra City. Tabletop RPG. We're just going to go switch and see what we left off. Boom. Beautiful. Look at this. Technology, science lets you finish me to the corner. When we left off, we had seen all the different character types. Let's go ahead and remember. Do a little memory lane. Go back to the first list of them all. Classes. We got the classes. We have the Clackers, and they are the Mad Bomber / Mad Hacker. They were declared dope. They can make little bomb buddies, walk around or fly around and explode with effects. They also have access to the Clacker network, which is a set of decentralized difference engines built in the sewers, which we are withholding judgment on because though the idea seems dope as fuck, we have yet to see what difference engines, if anything, they can. They have yet to be properly defined in game terms. In game fiction, we kind of know what they are, but there hasn't been a lot of detail. So while we think the Clackers are dope, we are withholding judgment on certain parts. Corsorian Knights, who are anarchist knights who go into a battle trance and they have their own personal tenets. Those were dope as fuck. They are tanks. They are meant to take damage and keep coming. They will not die. Absolutely dope. Big fan of the Corsorian Knights. Dog Girls, they have custom-built motorcycles. They're super mobile. They know everybody everywhere. They are mounted combat specialists, scouts. We love them. Everybody loves them. That's part of the whole. Fans, again, of the Dog Girls. Ex-Marines, you've got power armor. What more needs to be said? Oh, one more thing. They can literally, Ex-Marines, power armor, right? You can take guns and just do more gun. And then the gun falls apart when you miss, but until you miss, and you best not miss, you are dope as fuck. The Fun Aliens are our barbarian street poets who also have magical mushrooms that they take for powers. They are brutal. They get in combat, they are unstoppable. I love them. The Gas Lampers are surprising. I didn't think I was going to like them. They're class people on horses with swords, and yet they are also extremely useful in this game, extremely useful in various parts of this and also very good at what this game is actually about, which is coalition building. It's very much a game about building connections, despite all this talk about combat. The thing is, you're building connections so you can specifically the guys made a long and then we ran off the gunslingers. After all these badass, just watch the previous 3 hours on this, I was just disappointed because everything else in the game is very cool, very imaginative, and then gunslingers just felt very limited in their progression. You only get slightly better guns as opposed to some really wild shit. Plus, I was real disappointed with that, mostly because I know they can do better. Like, for example, with the Labor Thugs. Labor Thugs I was very worried about, but they turned out to be dope because they are parkour all the time. They are also incredible combatants, and they're very good organizing people and getting them to do what needs to be done. What more do you need? 100%, 10, almost in me forgive the gunslingers. Lordlings are OP. They're basically rich kids dabbling in other classes, but if you've got the person in who just absolutely loves multi-classing, sure, give them the Lordling. Occultists are the wizards. I hope there's more discussion on the magic system and the curses because they felt very limited. Their specific ability to talk to the dead, actually project, really gave me some pause in the same sense that stuff like any game system that forces you to make the game all around one player while that power is going on, and also that power is like their main thing, like a hacker's Cyberpunk Red or a Netrunner is Shadowrun, where when they do their thing and they go into the Matrix or whatever virtual environment, the rest of the party just sits around. The other players can usually go make a sandwich because for the next half an hour, it's just that character show. And unfortunately, I felt like Occultist there was a chance that that's what was going to happen. So it's my only concern. I like it. There's a lot of stuff that I would just house rule, and it's just personal preference. But overall, still very positive. And then the last two classes, patchworkers, they're the healers and the stabbers. They start with 16 scalpels, and they will use all of them given half a chance. They are horrifying in the way they heal, the way they work, but also deeply necessary for all factions, and very interesting in that sense. Did have some minor concerns about their mechanic being to switch factions, mechanical way of automating. It's hard to put into words why it didn't sit right with me, but like I also said in the previous part of this review, not the one who actually managed to get a hardcover TTRPG game published, playtested. Vibes has playtest. Willing to bet that this was hopefully playtested well enough that it actually came up at some. It's not. Maybe wrong. Let's keep in mind. Bucket of Salt, and then finally the Rat King. The Rat Kings are our psychic kids who control swarms of rats. Don't know what else you need me to tell you about that other than that is dope as fuck. So again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And 11 out of 12 ain't bad. But with all that said, we're going to go to the actual the chapters, how things work around here. And we're not going to read the entire book. I'm about to do that to you. I'm not about to do that to myself. I'm to do that to the game creators. But just to get what it looks like, what this thing is. So, technology, see, things work a little differently around than wherever you're from because they work a little differently around here than anywhere else in the world. And they work a little differently than they used to. That's interesting. From what we know of the setting, this is a full world. This is a World of Arrow game. It is a world with god kings and wars between kingdoms. The game itself is focused on Penumbra. There's some maps. You know what? I believe we'll run across it. Let's just go with the flow. The point is, it's all very focused on the city. Things work a little differently around here than anywhere else in the world. There is magic and there is weirdness that is specific to Penumbra City. Hopefully we're going to into technology. So there's airships, radio towers, music playing from the speakers, or if you're a fancy enough place, electric lights. So there's electric, there's airships. This is not quite steampunk because there is straight up electricity. Steampunk electricity, chat. The steampunk is electricity. I think so. A lot of steampunk has like bulbs and stuff. Yeah, electricity is fine. So we're still in steampunk there. There's also Gauss wheels, those mechanized bicycles. There's also steampunk tanks that the tanks run on steam, so there is that. And then the kingdom that you're in, which is the most technologically advanced country in the world. Ask a priest, they'll tell you it's because of the god kings and engineers, but that's not true. We're the most technologically advanced country in the world because of the hard work of the working class. You thought you came here for a tabletop RPG, and you're still getting that, but also socialism. No, seriously though, this game is about community building. It is actually openly a communist, socialist, anarchist game. You are meant to be part of the revolutionary resistance against an oppressive and tyrannical fascist. Okay, so it's not an undertone. It is not a text. It is the text. So don't be too surprised. Part of the reason, in particular, we owe a lot to the machinists from the industrial Harrow. The engineering marvels of the outsiders have been putting together for generations. Shame those marvels have been harnessed for the war machine. God. Okay, so we have electricity. I'm going to go into the full history. That steampunk technically doesn't usually have electricity, but it's more like galvanics or dumbed down levels, and it relies much more on steam. All that said, it's fun. I mean, that's the thing. It is still it's a variation on steampunk. I'm not going to, otherwise we'll be here for another 3 hours. We'll probably figure out why they prefer steam power to electricity, but again, there is literal magic and magical buttons in ghosts. So there's radio. There are radio towers in town. Reasonable has got themselves a radio station too. The reasonable are sort of the centrist So you've got the revolutionists, which is most of the player characters. You've got the bulwark, which is the conservative faction, and then the reasonable, who are sort of central. You can tell what they think of themselves, call them. So basically, the revolutionists have little, radio. You've got the reasonable just got themselves radio station 2. Irritated airwaves on point. Of course, by the Lords of the New Order. Lords of the New Order are one of the factions, and they are mostly radicalists. And of course, the bulwark, the conservatives, have a couple of stations. I like this. The fact that they have radio built into this, the point where here, this is quest. This is all quest. You defending radio stations from the other factions, running your own radio station and informing. That's a whole campaign right there. This paragraph alone, you can build a campaign around, and I love it. So you got electricity, radio, mechanical vehicles, long steel snakes when we're on the city. So we got public transportation. We call them train. We love trains there. There's bicycles that have an outward habit of exploding, and all these things are powered by burning coal. We don't love that so much, but this part of the whole thing. There's this coal above which the city, which machines. Engineers have been flashy marvels for decades now. So we've got the physical. So we've got electricity, radio, and machines, but also we have magic. The plane. The material of proper mythology explained. Whole proper like planes. I'm not going to dive into this because I'll leave this for this cover. That there is at least this explanation because I felt like I didn't really get enough of it. Cultists. That said, this is definitely just setting, not stuff. Game term, which is, I love setting. Let's keep in mind, I am still looking for more, a little bit more crunch for the occultist. I still feel like the occultists are a good idea that perhaps focuses too much on the one thing that would make it happen. I would like to see more of the curse. I don't think more of it, or a lot more details on hermeticism. It's just that. But again, there might be a part later on explaining all sorts of different spells. I hope so. This is just like explanation. So let's see. So my commands. So we got magic. We got hermetic magic, which is apparently magic that fucks with the rock, fucks with the barrier between. Oh, cool. I like that. And I hope that means we're getting spells later on. Same thing with mycomancy is using mushrooms for weirdish shit. And at healing, you've got healing is interesting because there's two kinds of healing. There's using it with mushrooms, which is gross. It is established in world and in game is a gross way to go. And then there is hands of God. They're priests. Their power is basically hermetic magic. See, healing with her. They drag angels, their sacrifice to absorb their power, and then use that power to heal the living. Seraphic healing. They reach into heaven, drag angels down. Are angels nice? Tell me a little bit about the ether. Ether's heaven, the church. Medic order, nothing is a god who dies. Whenever anything dies, those two aspects, the agape and the thelema, depart from the plane, each cycling in a different direction. When a human dies, agape, or love, departs from the rot, resides in the putrid mass. Demons, so your emotions, all that stuff becomes demons. When pieces of that mass in the rot die, agape is transmuted once again, traveling to the ether where it resides in an angel. That angel dies and moves back to material. The thelema moves. Without reading any further, it's a name, right? It's basically it's a nasty kind because they are literally taking. They're calling them angels. What we call angels in this world is just the souls of people who are about ready to come back, purified, and they are about ready to come back next round. Before that can happen, these fuckers, the hand of God, I see what they say, terrified bastards, they drag angels either sacrifice them, absorbing power, and then use that power to heal the living. It's seraphic healing is sort of gruesome, but for the pious, like anyone else in the bulwark, it's just how you heal. Sometimes it leaves little scars that glow with white light. Every now and then, this game just comes out of nowhere and goes, oh, and I love it. But yeah, healing. And the other one, the other version, of course, just as horrific, honestly, more gruesome, is micromancy, patchwork. It requires donor material, so patchwork is gruesome. You're literally patching skin on top of your wound, then letting mushroom meld it off. Part of the process is carrying around a jar full of preserved human skin so they can patch up. Generally speaking, people, they took the skin from weren't using it anymore. Then it's just mushrooms. So while it is gross, I'm going to give it the seal of ethically problematic and taking the purified souls of the unborn and snorting them like angel crack for power. Call me controversial, but that's where I'm going to draw that particular. Anyway, healing in this game exists and is gross. Alright, so this is just kind of a day in the life and what it's like in the city, what it's like in the various territories, which I almost feel bad that I'm not going to read through the entire thing, because whenever I do dive in a little, I discover something horrifying and wonderful, like the healing. But also, I try to just go, given what we are fishing out, excited, I'm sure there's some wonderful things in here, so that. I do like that we are doing this information. We have a reading style that gets a lot across in just enough. These don't need to be super deep. They are atmospheric. They feels like diversity, race, and gender. Lots of people around here will look lots of ways. It's great. I like that, even though it's not necessary. I don't feel like the game needs to justify its diversity, but I like that there is the history of like, here's how this happened, and we're not papering over the rough parts of that. And like these things, it is very openly revolutionary, openly so. These things will matter within this. It's not just stuff that is presented there or quote. This matters because these things will play a part of various coalitions and factions and groups that are working occasionally. So here's the city. Okay, so the city isn't rough shape. One of the things, like this city is not touch this in touching on this back in previous parts of this overall deep. There is a war going on. The city is in that war. Things are not great, especially for the people down in Penumbra City, not in the silver with the rich. So when it says that it used to be streetcars, you can see the culprit thing anymore. It's just call a cab. It's gonna be that's just the vibe. That's it. Close down side. Dog girls. Cool. Again, lots of little detail. There's from the creator. This one I actually want to read. This is direct from the creators. You know, from the creators, we have chosen to present a world in which the force of oppression characters face rarely revolve around identity, such as race, ethnicity, sex, or gender. This was done because it is, in the end, a game designed for players to enjoy. We want to encourage all sorts of players, and for many, it isn't fun to engage in a fantasy world with the same impressions played as they do in the real world. Your gaming group feels otherwise. Bring it out to the world to better suit your needs. Enjoyable, for example, to role war against the homophobic church or navigate nativist factions that might be any coalitions. We have also chosen not to write in specific rules about the use of mobility devices, prosthetics, or specific game mechanics for disability, since there is at the moment no consensus on the best way to do so. Some groups might want to use rule sets where disability has impacts on the mechanics, while others might prefer the disability and accessibility devices only add flavor rather than altering. Mechanical prosthetic limbs of any level of technology are possible, and hermeticism and patchworking can be adapted to treat or mitigate various disability. whether characters want a steam-powered battle wheelchair or want their cultists to have a seeing eye for moving. Many things are possible. We encourage you to discuss this before you pay the money for this. And then some automates bulk on the busy work. Get down, cut chunks, go away. So, big fan of that. So language is the point of giving the classes specific language abilities. I originally thought that there might be some kind of specific mechanic around that because they made such a big point. Now that I'm looking at it, I think it's more of a setting flavor in that each language, it's not just, oh, do you speak Elven, do you speak Gorbish? Each language has a history. If you speak Sori, you are probably from Corsora, which is where the Corsorian Knights are from. And that's going to flavor certain things about how people interact with it. So, yeah, for each one of the chosen languages, there is a history there. There are points that they will matter during building coalition. While it's not necessarily a mechanical benefit, it would give bonuses or advantages or disadvantages in a certain role based on choices of language, but it's not so directly built. I think that's the approach you do with that. They do matter in the sense that brings a history, and their use is deliberate. It's not a gatekeeping. Oh, you know, do this puzzle. No Dwarvish. Oh, nobody knows Dwarvish. Well, it's just gibberish. Well, you can still certainly do something. Stop from doing something like that. That's kind of not the point of language efficiencies. I think it's more about opening first in terms of what to intro. All right. So now we've got a whole history. Here we'll finally found that map. The history of the country, the history of the city itself, and what went wrong in your life. We've got it up in Penumbra City. There's that map. We're in that. As mentioned before, we don't get a lot of art in this. We do get, we certainly. Beautiful. Anyway, we got that. Got our maps. We've got our descriptions. Okay, here we go. So this is where you really got. I mean, this is nice to have the history of the country. This is good to have it as players. This definitely is GM, and go through the game if you want to. Flavor of chat real quick. Takes the idea of dialects and upgrades to whole different languages. People use other methods for you. Now that we've got this general history, we can go into the specific steps. We've got the plaza, Penumbra South, Old Town, the Outs, Quarter, South Docks, the Iron Quarter, North Docks, the Silver, and the Shadow. All these sections. As you can see, we get a lot, and this is nice. So you'll get more info about the plaza. We get some art regarding the plaza. That's nice. Neo Tower. This would be the Ireni Federation, the main sort of coalition guy. We've got, which I like, also some notable persons in that area. So some built-in, NPCs for the GM to and the players to, which is this world that is actually, they don't really need to kind of figure out to, and description of the Iron Quarter, art, North Docks, people, South Docks, they're always really quick. Quarter, which is graveyard where the outsiders have been squatting for apparently generations. I'm not sure if it's still squatting in generations. Their place. The shadow with a shadow. They're not quite Penumbra City. We've got two. So there's the Silver, which is the big city that floats in the sky, which casts the shadow. Is where the Lyrish people are, where the god is, and generally speaking, you want to get up there, kill, do something. Necessarily, do something about it. That's where you description of that. And then the other city, because if you want to go dungeon delve in this game, sure, are we to stop you? Here's don't go into the Undercity. What's wrong with it? It's dangerous there. It's dangerous up here, but it's extra dangerous there. All the talk about ancient wisdom and ancient treasure, it's just hey, you want dungeon delve. There it is. Also, there are mushrooms. There are mushrooms now. Mushrooms that eat people. They're mushroom corpses or something. Which means I, as a GM, or as a player both, I want pretty cool shit down. And then the country just outside the city, they sometimes need out until the heat off. Here we go, the rest of the world. I was wondering if we were going to see a little bit more of the world of Harrow. So let's see. We got this picture of the current. These are I was going to say the main bad guys. No, they're an enemy of the kingdom. They're the people you are at war with, or kingdom rather. Sword, this is where the knights come from. Roth is, I believe these were traders, smugglers. Anyway, these are all the other characters. So a little bit of flavor from the rest of them. And now, okay, cool. So that was kind of like the history of the city and the places. Now we're going into the history of the revolution itself, the history of the factions. Good, because we did get a very sort of overview of the factions coalitions here, which is nice. A little mechanics of how mechanics for the faction. But now we're getting to the meat. Now we're getting all factions, all sub faction. And a lot of work, various different services in those factions, because there is, and this is part of what is a mechanical players for building these things. And thankfully, they're enough to actually detail that. You can get from the various faction space. There's factions here. Cool. I was worried that they were going to make you, as a GM, sort of like really good. Actually, you know what? Let's take a look. I'm not going to dive into all of them like the character classes, but since the Ready Federation is so central to it, I think it's worth on this one. Let's see. Up front was the overview, there's material history checks. And yes, exactly. No, helpful game lore, but not just helpful game lore. It's not just flavor text. Here we got all the, especially for this, we've got the useful actual details. Oh, and again, these are meant to be like a really part of the story. I like that we're given enough material, enough meat here to actually make that. A lot of games. Well, here's the thing: a lot of games that are a little bit more generic are sometimes more. Oh no, here's some really vague outlines of this world. And the rest, make it up at the table, which is fine. Let me be clear. That's not a complaint. But there is something to be said for things like this. Where there is the flavor of is honestly the most important thing about it. Because while the system is good and straightforward, it's not 100% groundbreaking. They haven't completely reinvented the job. The main selling is that enough of this feels to really sink in without feeling completely held back. But if this Serenity Federation thing, for example, that we're about to dive in, was 6 pages, that would feel a little too much. This feels like just enough. I'm going to skip over it, but I want to take a look at more of it. Well, yes, the history. So they were originally a theater troupe. Saints tried to conscript them. They fought back. The church showed up and burned the whole ground. They federated theater group and came together. cool. Fucking love. 10 years ago, everything goes to shit. Half the city eating, expanded, the war. But yeah, basically the Ireni Federation, everybody kind of loves them, or at least tolerates them because they're the soup. They own the plaza because that's where people come free soup. They feed people, and you don't want the people that feed them. Well, how it should be. Let's look at them in panic. Oh yeah, and you trick up our cities, past few years, their network. We've got different engines, centralized thinking machines. We've got Clackers. We're building a decentralized thinking machine that under our feet. And hopefully we'll get a little bit more. In the meantime, let's see. So what we would get at the territory is the plaza. So they have engineers tools, a difference engine, micromancy tools. So these are all the things access to. They are being welcomed by the Federation. They have all this stuff, basic and fine levels. So they have bomb, right? Not produce much or trade in material goods. They know everyone, however, can offer most items except bolt throwers, dog's wheels, and exoskeleton. It's requireable at quality level lower than would normally rotation with Ireni. For example, Cantrell would need a rotation of 4, fine crossbow. Makes sense. They're not the people we got to start with. They're not going to have work with us. They do have some fancies. You have there. You might have some fancy, of course, bolt throwers, dog sweets, and you full reputation of 5. Which makes sense. This is not the right soup. Soup. They have a difference engine, the Clacker 5, which is a fine quality difference engine. They have basic patchworking services, services by reputation costs. Okay, so Reputation 1, you have access to the plaza and soup. I like soup. Another one. Reputation 2, you have access to the theaters and art houses around the plaza. At level 3, you get conflict resolution, which, with role-playing, can be used to repair negative reputation with any member of the revolutionists or the reasonable by slowly building favorable factions. I like that. So at level 3 with the Ireni Federation, you can call them to help you out if you fucked up with any other revolutionists or reasonable. They'll help you with that. At level 4, you get permission to ask questions of the Clacker or the Clacker system. Interesting. Also, you for Well, I guess if you have a Clacker in it's not that big. Because until then, you had to go through your Clacker to get answers, access the Clacker network at all. This just means that at that point, the Clackers no longer the only be questions, and the who is the Clacker. More. I hope we get a little bit more discussion. I feel like several references to overall, though, and insider information about the bulwark as can have been determined any member of the revolutionists. Okay, so basically just which is these stages anyway. That's the most solid. Compare that to some of the other ones. It's the best. The Sororo Order of Gas Lampers. Basically, different also. I like this. Cool. Very good. No complaint. On the contrary, kudos. Major. Very much like the 5C. And I need when my players make friends with one of these factions, they want to get some. Literally, we get that with the reasonable faction, some of which are interesting. The Poetic Lodge. The Deep. Poetic Lodge, I love that. The Order, and the Skip, and that. So we get a lot more about the bulwark, which is fine. They're the main enemy, so know your enemy. You want to get a lot of info about the. And then the Gloaming is the strangest faction within the bulwark because it's. Oh, these are basically. Oh, so these are interesting because the Gloaming is sort of a private army. That's it. If I'm getting it correct, there's sort of a private army that exists. Yeah, I'm just going back to the map. So the silver shadow here is is kind of what the silver floats under. So this is always shadow. That's also where there's mushrooms, there's entrances to the Undercity. So these people technically belong to the Bulwark. They are their conservative faction, but they're also a private army that really just sits down there, makes sure nothing crazy, nothing too was standing way off. I just realized. Nothing really comes at the people. Yes, which is why when there's kind of Lomi is convinced that there's some kind of entity that lives under this creature of darkness, or foreboding they call it. If that makes any sense. Preparing to go to war. Yes. But yeah, lead among the ranks or the Under Knight, forays into the Undercity, the monsters. Can't help but respect them for that work, whether or not there is a foreboding. There's monsters, and they thoroughly respect them. But sometimes so, the Gloaming decides that they're the monster. Madness, as they call it, and it isn't. They use their rantings to put up a wall between themselves and the rest of the city, and they pride themselves on their outlandish claims and styles. So they're basically like paranoid private army that killing monsters and technically helping keep the city relatively safe from the things that are in the Undercity. But they are a paranoid and violent private army with conservative leanings. So, you take what you can get. You do what you can. That pre-med, alarm. Cool. All right, now we're back to rules. Look, equipment, rule set sizes. Okay, so I like this. There are sizes, quality equipment. All equipment is kind of falls under these various categories. So you've got like your tool set sizes, improvised tools, basics, kit, wagon, or a facility. So that improvised quality, basic, fine, fancy, and masterwork quality. Cool. Basic divisions, as we'll see in the equipment, the quality of equipment will think weapons, damage they do. Equipment, how do you get it? Cool, basic equipment and all that. Levels of reputation you need to the various types of equipment, factions, and as we saw previously, just going back a couple pages, you can see each faction, which equipment you need to provide or able to provide rather as expectations. Excellent. That's a big way you can get to that. I was afraid that it was going to be separate for each one, but no, this is a smart way. You want this type of item, so look at this. If you want a blowgun, for example, three patches. Children, Ready Federation. From that, okay, so if I want 5 blowguns from any of those federations, any of these groups, I would 3 to get that forward. I like it. And then as we saw, some groups those levels might be affected by actions. You want dog wheels? Go to the dog girls. Nobody else but the dog girls. Oh, and fancy and masterwork. But same thing. Here's some examples of what those different types of light armor make it. They provide the same levels based on quality, but they do give you some examples for flavor, basically, for So really like there's the armor. Ooh, and some of them have. Okay. Oh, so nice. So you see that. For example, improvised and basic both provide the same basic protection to armor point. Going back into the full rules, armor points are how much protection your armor provides you per combat. We set every combat once armor has provided protection against the amount of damage equal to its P, then that armor no longer provides protection for that combat. Next combat. So both improvised and basic light armor are the same level of protection, but improvised has a disadvantage side to all speed checks except those attacks. So this is why I like that. I like that you can improvise something and there's rules for that. Oh, that the armor, thing, exoskeleton, does a lot here. A lot more protection. Lets you bullshit like jumping to it. Nice. Shield, and then the weapons. Okay, so let's look. You've got access. You've got clubs, knives, pole arm. Interesting. So let's take a look at knives. Let's include all knives, throwing knives, scalpels, skinning knives, push knives, kitchen knives, punch knives, and sickle. Anything with a blade. It tells you what it attacks and defends with. Nice. Versatility can be used one-handed without a modifier. Players may hold one in each hand. The ranges, you've got properties. Each one has different properties. For example, knives have a property. Anyone holding a knife has advantage on checks to no longer be caught. Advantages and caught with a capital C. That's attacks against a target where the wielder has caught, bypass a. Nice. So knives are specifically meant for when you're grabbing someone you've caught, and then you just ship them from the side. Ship. Basically, because you have advantage on those attacks. Meanwhile, a club, for example, has the property crushing, which means damage from clubs always bypasses one armor point. Okay, so again, like this, and of course the different rules, because it gives each weapon. You've got an improvised shiv, which on strings attached. Strings attached means you roll the nat 20. Quality, changes the damage. You can have a whole variety for a fancy, etc. But also, it gives you a reason to, if it takes a fancy knife, do 1d8 with a base, then why would I bother getting a fancy knife? Well, because fancy knife is going to have this slide quality. We separately have this reckless quality, which is a whole basically just lets you keep attacking. It basically lets you do the reckless attack. Yeah, from D&D, you gain advantage on the attack, but disadvantage on the. Pretty straightforward. So you got each weapon specifically, and this is something this came long before I think. Didn't D&D 24 do something like this? Where I think it added something like this. Oh, this game had it before. So, boom. Okay, I like their approach. Okay, let's see. Look at these firearms and see if there's something here that's going to make me reconsider my thought on the gunslinger. Let's see if that's the thing that's about to happen or not. Wish me and the gunslingers, shall we? So, handgun. Handed. So literally, that's it. Handguns. And we've got base information. It's attached. You roll at 20. Things attached. Ready hand. Just make a knowledge check, or the weapon breaks and it's unusable until it's repaired. Cool. That's luck. Don't do that much damage either. Right? Master Worker says, let's move around. Study bolt action rifle, an action, brakes, that, yeah, wait. Okay, so I have to think, I have to think. Fires have a higher chance of breaking when not used, but yes, no. So this is the basic chance of breaking. A gunslinger makes these rolls, I believe, at advantage. Knowledge check that this takes, I believe they advantage. It's harder. Gunslingers get some advantages on that, but I have to assume that being a distance combatant, staying out of the line of fire, line of attack, I guess the front line, it's just so good at alive, which makes sense. When we did look at the gunslingers, they are mobile, but so are several of the other classes that are also up front, up front combatants, and attacks of opportunity are not really a thing except for certain specific classes or abilities. You can those more mobile classes like a dog girl, or a gas lamper on their horse. Those already allow you to move in, then move away again, so you don't get back. Default, no such thing as attack of opportunity. How is that? Is that equal to, or less useful, or more useful than gunslinger, who is going to just basically do their best to always stay distant, far away enemies, which means only other enemies that have guns. No, I feel weird. Reroll ads are disabled. 5 minutes, says my screen. Cool. Don't know what that. Don't. Anyway, I don't know. I continue. I would need to. I suspect I would need to straighten this to see, lay out a combat and see if missing stuff. And this feels underpowered is one word, but more. It feels boring to is I think the best way. It feels boring compared to which your goal is to make guns less attractive to players. Fine, yes, I don't disagree. But then don't make character class that is all about the guns. Just don't put guns. This is the one part of this game bumping into that. Well, no. I was gonna say I would just I would just remove the gunslingers, but no. I'm gonna remove them because they're tied to an entire culture game. But I suspect I would just make it peace without. And again, this is pure personal preference, personal. And I'm not saying I would change the way the gunslingers are or the outsider culture game is written. My problems with that. The vibes. I just have a hard time looking at those mechanics and thinking that that's going to be fun. Specific, probably do a lot of house ruling again. For me, I'm not saying it is the game is bad or it is, but I don't think that class rises to the fun classes. I'm gonna stop bitching about that. Literally spent 4 episodes down this review. Other than that, though, again, I like this. I like the exotic weapons. Look at that. Each blowguns are all of a sudden. I showed those as a example earlier, and I like that each level of blow has an type of pattern of extra stuff. And love that. Both throwers think they need a bomb. So bombs. So that's interesting. Bombs just have the basic. All bombs are basic. ABAB. All bombs are basic. Carrying a reputation of 2 to acquire with patches. Okay, fine. Yeah. Extra strength, extra speed, essential combat use of the enemy, response, better shuffle. Use Clackers often modify the bombs taken forms. Thank you. Back to the Clacker. Because bombs are pretty basic. Bombs are basic. Let's go back to the Clacker. See what they do with bombs. Because there's 2 things that I'm worried about. Our big deal. Other classes get the bomb. They really want. Clackers are the ones. So they modify. Gain advantage die, check and bomb buddies, make bomb buddies. Really, it's the bomb buddy. Abilities, bomb blast, so it's mostly here. And it's less about. Again, this is an example. This is the example. You get different effects with the bombs. You can fly, you can trigger, you turn this. So they don't ever do extra damage. Interesting. Bombs are meant to be a thing. Well, you do get a variety like smoke, and I am an acid. You see any flying, so each area is interesting. Versus, no, I'm not going to go back. I was about to go back to the gunslinger. Point is, gunslingers just get smoke. Not complaining then. My concern with bombs, it just feels weird that there aren't bigger bomb described. Is there some? Wait, it's okay. So the main thing I guess they don't have to do that with extra because their main thing. So okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Let's see. Shit. Right. Bomb do have some. Bombs are more like grenades. These grenades with but these grenades, and so by default, the range is either close or nearby, and the radius affects all close to where the detonation occurs. So we have 4 range. We have close, which is basically would be melee. Nearby, which is just melee range. Distant, which is basically range, distant, and that far is just far. I'm doing a great job at it. So bombs you can either drop one right where you are and caught in it, or one area away nearby, so you can get caught. Will affect everybody in the same area as the one that you're throwing it within close range with where the detonation occurs. So that's your main thing. Bombs are addressed to whom it may concern. And the Clackers, they can do extra things with them. Cool. The level 5 ability of the ex-Marines, which is basically turn their main weapon into a bomb thrower. The main thing that it seems to do, by doing that, you prevent your main weapon from being used right. Is that it lets you launch bombs. It's a grenade launcher. It lets you launch these bombs, these grenades, to distant and far range. Which is good. If the enemies are all grouped up and far away, it's a great way to say hello. But that damage, I feel like there should be levels of bombs. Maybe Clackers should have the ability to have fine, fancy, and maybe even masterwork bombs. I feel like there should be ability to better bomb. That's a little weird that it's. I guess all bombs are basic, but custom bomb. it just feels like my hesitation there is specifically because you made it so there's something that requires a powerful. So this game pops out at 5. You made it that there's an ability that requires a be it that just lets you deliver these same 1d6 bombs you've had since level 1 a little further, which is fine. But I feel like at level 5, either you should let me throw a cluster of these, or there should be more powerful weaponry, more powerful bombs, especially since sooner or later we're going up to silver. All right, 1d6 little grenades, cut it when we're up in silver. House room. So his house. Feel. That's why I keep harping. It's a point of friction that I'm not sure why. Interesting. Broncos, Mancatcher, Pool, the Vapors. We already saw Hackers. The different abilities that you pick up. It's just the base 4 damage. That's very cool. Keep out the range of this cat. Reference chart. There. Tool. Oh, never mind. Never mind. I just to the developers of this game, my apologies. I'm literally just reading through the book as I go and talking out my ass as I go to the page. This is my brand. I'm never going to get sponsorship review because this is how I do it. Because we just got to the Bomb Maker's tool. First thing I see in Bomb Maker's tools, first darn thing we see is larger explosive. Okay, so look at here. Yes, we do get a little bit of explanation. Let's see. Tools include all of the gear supplies required to make, set, or disarm various kinds of explosives found in Penumbra City. Bomb Maker's tools are mostly used to make, set, and disarm larger explosives outside of the smaller bombs used in combat. Being proficient with bombs is proficient with tools. Bombs that are used during combat cannot be made or acquired through mission. Interesting. So basically, they just want to make it so that so that the bigger explosives just are not or I don't know. I'd say that's just me. Also, why is this the whole stuff? Um, but then here, see, you get so detailed, and here it feels like this is the GM and players may wish to explore the world with larger explosions than the bomb that is used in combat. Bomb Maker's tools can be used to make, set, and disarm larger explosives. Because explosives are variable with specific GM suggestions. So it's very much like we don't want to do that. Which I don't want to do that for. And me and larger explosives feel like a setting changing. I know. I get that. I just feel like there is a space in between does 1d6 damage in combat and brings down the Tower of the God King. There's a space between those two levels of bomb. I feel you could still have more potent, more dangerous, but more powerful immediate action guns or bombs rather. I don't know. Then again, okay, so here's how we get around that, right? Here's how we get around that with the game. Okay, the book is having. I'm having a conversation with the book. The book is having a conversation with. As I'm scrolling through. Here it is. Rules as intended in homebrewing rule. Whenever a rule is clear or ambiguous, the supporters interpret that rule as you believe was intended, rather than specifically trying to sort out exactly how. Furthermore, the GM, with the consent of the players, should consider abandoning or altering any rule to fit or maximize the fun of the entire group. Process generally referred to as homebrew, which is kind of what it's not disrespect of the game. It's just like certain things don't how I would approach it. Explaining how I approach those things. Conversation. But rules as written, here's how you kind of make that more interesting. Because at level 5, hopefully you've got a. And so the Clacker will have at level 5 a few of these. The acid, the smoke. You got the landmine for what I'm thinking of, but like acid, smoke bomb, or a targeted bomb, which is cool. You want to just hit one target, I guess. See, here's the thing that I would several target. Go, okay, cool. Since this one is no longer a concern, right? This one is the specific person. Then this one does 1d8 or 1d10 damage instead of just the 1d6 one in the area, stuff like that. But also, these fancy bombs, and then you've got the ex-marine, but the cannon, which are 5 and they basically can turn their bolt thrower into a cannon. And as a cannon, cannot shoot bolts or grapples, only bombs. Cannon can be fired up to distance without penalty or far away with disadvantage. So that's where at level 5, okay, cool. Now the Clacker gives me a bunch of acid or smoke bomb, and then as the green and load them into my modified bolt weapon, bring them into the fortification far distant. So going back to the whole theme of this game being cooperation and community building and all that, okay, then that may be part of what I'm missing here, right? I'm looking at a lot of these characters and abilities solo, looking at how they work all on their own. When you actually put them together with other people at the table, characters might discover some synergies. Just still weird that don't have a 5 for those two. Still some things I would homebrew. I feel like there should be an option for scaling up a bomb damage beyond, separate from just going from the basic 1d6, bring down it. And then at that point, it's just telling you, figure it out, make it up. Which fine. I don't need an engineering hat. I don't need a full dive into the specific, sheer strength of various materials in the city. No, at that point, to figure it out. And there's a whole middle. Hey, buddy, welcome in. Audio seems slow. So I got that again. You know what? No. Give me a second. Audio seems slow. I might be able to do something. There we go. Is that better? Worse? Is that noticeable at all? I raised the output on my main thing. So hopefully, if that, just let me know if that made any kind. Keep going. Let's see. So we got the engineer. Actually, should instead of vehicles, cool. So there's basic guidelines of that. And way with the basic levels. Okay. My command C tools. Okay, so this is good. We've got a lot more detail on actually how to make antidotes, how to use it for patchworking. We've got actual details on that. Good to know, because I was a little worried when I didn't see a lot of that in the patchworker. I did not see patchwork. That's really right there. A lot of detail on that, but I guess this is a better place to cover it. I do wish the book did a better job of in that chapter, in that patchworker. It should have maybe had a link, like see page 1. No, that's right, page 2.
Anyway, lots more detail on the mycomancy tools, which I appreciate that. On how to do this again, I just wish they had maybe done a bit of a see page 203 for more details. Blah blah blah. On the other hand, that is counter. Please like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. um, you know, get down. And if you're watching this on YouTube and I didn't cut this part out, I probably did. But if not, get in the comments and tell me how much I suck. Please, engagement. Um, but anyway, I was gonna say the fact that he didn't put a link to the page for more information, I kind of had to find this. One of the reasons why you would put a link to the page is because it would reassure people like me who don't see any more in the character section and go, oh, wait, where's the info? It's not here. And there's no link or go like see page blah 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 for more details. So I guess I have to assume that this is it, and then I get sad. But if you go like, see page whatever for more, oh, cool. There's going to be more details on that, which is good to have as a character who will be doing the thing in the game a lot. That's my approach. I'm being real. I'm being real catty at this game, which is funny considering how much I like it. Um, but also again, it's just little editing things that really would have gone a long way that I think would have helped just assuage my doubts. Like how much of my bitching about, for example, this whole bomb makers thing, and would have been derailed, right? Or would have been preempted if I'd known that there was a section where you're going to address these larger explosives, preferably linked, as soon as we talk about bombs in the Fungalium thing, here would be a great page in the bomb making progression thing right away. Go like also see page 201 for more details on making bombs. And then I would have been able to look real quick and like, oh, so that's your approach to larger explosives. Cool. Or not cool, or whatever. But I would have known that instead of spending all this time, all of this, just going, I don't know if they're bombs, just saying. It would have protected you from annoying assholes like me. Game creators, please, if you're watching, and I know all of you are, every single game creator out there, I'm just giving you this wisdom for free. All right, let's continue. Ritual tools, cool. So stuff you can do with rituals. It's in ritual tools, cool. And the occultist, okay, and then the different levels, what you can get away with for the different levels. Interesting, smaller than expected, but cool. Thieves tools and what you can do with them. So this is an interesting approach. A lot of, and I guess it's just like a difference in methodology here, or in pedagogy here, I guess, in just how it's being presented. I've seen a lot of games that will go like, will present you with a list of actions and things you can do in your game. So there would be a section where it would have, for example, climbing and breaking and entering and tracking with ritual tools and foraging and getting high, which is the part I skipped earlier. What I was going to say about the mycomancy tools that almost made me forgive not having a page link is the fact that there is a section about getting high. I appreciate that in the game. But anyway, there's all these actions, right? In a lot of other games, and I'm not saying this is necessarily better or worse, it's just a different approach, right? A lot of other games would have presented these actions and gone like, these actions require a mycomancy toolkit, or these actions require thieves tools. Here instead, you are presented with the tool and told what you can do with, like the types of actions that you can do with those. It's interesting. I like it. I'm not opposed to this. It is a slightly different approach to learning what I can do. Just because I might not. I guess it makes sense in this game because there is a bit of a focus on you do need these specific things. You do need to have Mycomancy tools. You do need to have engineers tools, even if they're improvised. But you do need to have them, ritual tools, to do certain things, right? So I guess it would make sense to then address those things that you can do within the description of the tools itself, right? So it's a different approach. It's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just a different approach that I am noticing, which is fine. I like that. And then now we're we're going to the vehicles and mounts. So the dog's wheels, these are the, now check them out. Look at those chunky motorcycles. I kind of love them. The dog's wheels. And then horses, what they can do, what you can do with them, basic levels. I'm kind of surprised that there aren't like fine horses and, like different levels. It's just that one. Like the dog's wheels have multiple levels. I feel like you should be able to get a higher quality horse. We have horse boys. I guess the horse boys do kind of get a kind of semi-magical horse. It's not semi-magical, it's just very well trained. Sorry, we are going back. I want to see real quick what the gas lampers. Let's see here. Horseback warriors. So horses, you have to make a will check to calm the horse if it takes damage. And a failure, you're thrown off and strings attached. You lose your move action trying to calm the horse. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. And they can do these things, basic things. So a horse boy, they have an actual character. The gas lampers, they don't have to make those checks. They don't have to make the checks to calm the horse. They can move more with the horse. They get advantage of making speed checks when they're on the horse. And it's a special, well-trained horse. So basically, it's just horse and gas lamper horse, and that's it. And the gas lamper horse has the same stats. It's just that when working with a gas lamper, it's super dope. It's extra super horse. Okay, I'm fine with that. I still feel like it is. I just feel like there are some items that don't have multiple levels that I feel should have multiple quality levels, if that makes any sense. Horses is one of them. Nitpick. I am literally just nitpicking at this point. I love this game. I want more horse. I'm just a man standing in front of a very expensive camera, asking a game creator who's never met him to give him more horsies. That's all I am. That's what I bring. That's what I bring to this to the internet. That is who I am as a person, and quite possibly the reason I remain unemployed. Hey, look, rowboat stats. Rowboats get all sorts of, look at this, rowboat mechanics, depending on whether you're in calm intention or combat and how to use them. That is a surprising level of detail. The rowboats have multiple levels. Why don't the horses have multiple levels, huh? I don't know. All right, so this is cool. This part I've been looking for is this services. So back here, when we look at the various factions, right, we saw that they are willing to provide certain services by reputation cost. So, for example, the children have these 3 services. Fungus that gets people high, for example. Big fan of the children already. Love them. But also, they have the equipment and stuff that they offer. But here, and actually, wasn't there a list earlier? I think under reputation. Let me see. I believe in the reputation section. Let's go back. This is actually worth going through. Hit points, reputation. Okay, so in the reputation section, you got a reputation, disposition, equipment, and services. I could have sworn I saw. Maybe it's here. Let's see. I could have sworn I had seen a list of the specific services that a faction can offer. Did I miss that? Did I make that up? I might have. Faction access to gear, equipment access by reputation. Do we have a services by reputation? No, this is This is just in the equipment section. Maybe it's later on. Give me a second. Give me a second. No, it's not here. So I swear I'd seen it. Anyway, these are the services that you can get from the various factions, and your reputation level with them will detail. So if you're getting different levels of, so this is just generic. This is aid, the kinds of aid that a faction will give you based on your reputation. So for example, okay, yeah, so this is the varies per faction. Never mind. So for example, a reputation 2 with your average faction. Some faction will provide a guide or companion at this level as long as the danger is minimal. Companion will not put themselves in harm's way if a fight breaks out, but they will provide support. If it looks like the fight will be lost, your companion might run away. So that's the level of help you might get at level 2 with a faction. While at level 4, many members of a faction will support a party in a long and dangerous adventure as long as the odds are favorable or cause is aligned with their goals. So again, this is just a general level, okay, of what the aid you can expect from a faction based on your reputation. Okay, difference engines. See, again, see page 212 for more information on difference engines. All the way back here somewhere, would have gotten a lot less bitching from me. Just saying. That said, I'm glad it's here, because now we have a whole history of difference engines, what you can do. The skips have a difference engine they salvaged years ago, which they call Mother. That's dope. Cool, actually, very cool that the kids, the skips living in the streets technically have a salvaged difference engine that they call Mother. I mean, that's cool. That's dope. I like that. Again, this game has all these little moments. I love that. Here's what the actual difference engines do. Okay, so let's actually take a look at these. Let's dive a little into the levels, because these are important. There's a whole character class that it's all about accessing these and having access to a fine quality difference engine right under the streets and all this stuff. So let's see what you can get with the various levels. So at a basic difference engine, the machine is portable, sort of. Requires a horse-drawn wagon to move. Answers are so specific as to not be incredibly useful and will only reflect a limited amount of knowledge on the part of the machine. Answers are less than 25% accurate and include at least one contradictory element. The answer does not indicate its percentage of accuracy. Fine. Okay, so basically difference engines just... Yeah, I guess we do have to actually go here. So we do actually have to read a little on the whole, how it is. So a proficient user can ask a difference engine any question after feeding it information. After 10 minutes on a successful knowledge check, it will answer as clearly as its level of complexity will allow, which is what we're seeing over here. On a failed knowledge check, it will answer in an unclear but still technically truthful way. This seems like current AI technology, honestly. Each machine can answer at one level higher up to masterwork by giving it a full day instead of 10 minutes. I like that interesting approach. Answers come printed in a code that is understandable to any who are proficient with difference engines. Once a week, a difference engine will, without being prompted, print out a cryptic message that probably doesn't make sense. This is a result of the machines constantly, at some level, computing information. Some analysts think of the printouts as nonsense, the waste remnants of computational functions, while some think of the messages as the dreams of the difference engines that should be pondered. That's plot right there. A difference engine remembers the last 3 questions it was asked, and the answers can be recalled in 1 minute. No amount of reputation will persuade a faction to relinquish a functional difference engine, only to provide access to it. Cool. So, okay, so basics are portable and very inaccurate. Fine are big, size of a small building, and 50% accuracy, vague alternate possibilities. Fancy is a large warehouse. The machine will understand the questioner's intent and take it into consideration in the answer, and will explain its reasonings. They come printed with at least a 75% chance of accuracy and offer several alternate possibilities, along with reasons for listing the alternate possibilities. That's dope. That also sounds like a lot of work for the GM to come up with, but dope. But then again, there's not a lot of fancy or masterwork difference engines out there, so it's not like this is a regular thing that your party will usually have access to. Let's see, masterwork. The machine occupies the space of one of the giant step pyramids in Old Town. Yes, there are giant pyramid difference engines that are consulted for answers to the future. The machine is nearly prophetic, capable of generating information that there's no rational explanation for how it would have. There are only 2 known to exist, one of which is functional and one of which is long broken. Answers come printed out with at least a 95% chance of accuracy and offer insight into its 5% of doubt. That's really cool in the sense that that right there, that's a quest. That could be a whole its own arc, breaking in, getting into to where these pyramidal giant difference engines are, so you can get that answer. And that's the kind of answer that the GM would definitely have to spend some time, building up to percent, right? But this is a whole campaign arc right there. I like that. Okay, and then details on food, details on healing that you can get again for the different levels of reputation. Seraphic healing, which, as we stated, is fucked up. Information you can get from the various factions. I dig that. Shelter you can get. Transportation you can get. This is great. That's great. This is all good because they're all the main things that you as a party would probably be looking for. Access to information, to food, to healing, to shelter, to transportation, and just a generic, we need help in the thing that we are doing. And you get very clear guidelines on what is provided at each level of reputation. I was originally worried that this was going to be very, very wishy-washy, and it's not. And I absolutely love that. Because again, not enough games that provide a sort of or want you to do that whole coalition building vibe and all that. They don't always have an actual mechanic behind that. They don't always have actual benefits to the party for doing these things. So there are the fact that this is codified here, big fan of that. Love it. Absolutely love it for this game. Let's see, enemies and the occasional friend. Okay, so this is people and NPC stat blocks for NPC allies or NPC enemies. So we're just kind of gonna go just look them over real quick. Like fishers are bounty hunters and something like assassins. Cool. So these are cool. Oh, these are the lamprey men. Okay, so these are NPCs. Okay, so you've got your HP, you've got your armor points, you've got the type of attacks they do and details. So they're not necessarily very compact stat blocks, but they are detailed and these are not mook, right? They are meant to be enemies that pose a real threat, have their own abilities, give the GM a lot of different options. Ooh, I like that art for the goeticists, right? Yeah, look at that. Let's bring that up to the camera a little bit. Look at that, beautiful, huh? All right. So these guys channel Inferno. That's great. That's great. They have demons. Who doesn't love demons? No one. No one likes goeticists. Not even other goeticists. Great. Love that. The Hands of God. These are those fucked up healers. Great. Love those. The Hogsmen. Lords of the New Order want something. These are just nice. And then an actual hog. Cool. Hogsmen and their hogs. They have a guard pig. Again, this game, it really does have all the things that I want out of a game. Investigators and all their abilities, love that. Kingsmen, these are just Templars and score at different levels of guards. The Saints, higher level commanders, they definitely want you to go to war with the silver. Look at all these enemies. Under Knights, oh yeah, you are meant to fight those fuckers. Let's see, not quite people anymore. The Beasts of Hern. So if you leave town, there's a solid chance you'll run into these guys. They're not great. Feather Scars, Aquatic Chimeras. Oh, so there's multiple types. Oh, I like this. I was also a little bit worried about that because they mentioned the Beasts of Hern, who are vivisected half animal, half human monsters, and they're referred to a few times. And I thought it was just going to end up being sort of a werewolf kind of thing. They're all werewolves, they're all beast men. But no, it looks like we have different varieties. Fuck. Yeah. Oh, this is really dope. You got Feather Scars, Aquatic Chimeras, combine the upper half of the human with the body of a feather star. Look at that. That's dope. Feather Scar's hands have also been modified to be clawed and webbed. Lungs have been modified to absorb oxygen. So that's gliders or humans have been twisted into a strange creature as skin. as akin to a flying squirrel as to a person. That's horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. Locust dogs, mostly people some animalists. The Hernian locust dogs are mostly bug with a little bit of human. Look at them. There they are. Those will be, they'll be seeing, you'll be seeing those in your nightmare tonight. Enjoy that. Oh, these are horrifying. And then the officers have different heads. Do they have multiple heads? No, no, no. Yeah, they look like humans with 2 extra animal heads sewn to their shoulders, and their legs are replaced with those of a bull. That's horrifying. I love it. I love it. I want to throw that on my players. Tunnelers, those are just big feet. I like them. We got stats on the God Kings. Okay, wait. I gotta read the beginning of this. God Kings, yeah, I know, they're kind of a big deal, and there's only a few of them, and we talked for a little while about, like, maybe Ath should get his own whole chapter since we're trying to overthrow him. But honestly, being petty seemed like more fun. So here's Ath and the rest of his ilk under not quite people anymore. I love it. Fuck these guys. So that's a God King right there. Let's just go ahead and get him on camera for you. There you go. Appreciate the God King. We got a whole description, almost indescribably powerful, not intended for players to fight head on without an entire campaign's worth of preparation. Yep, we're not going to get stats because these are gods. They're God Kings. But I like that there's a little chapter talking about them. Patchwork dolls. Look at that art. That's horrifying. There we go. Yeah, absolutely friggin' horrifying. Let's see. Oh yeah, Jesus would absolutely love these. Let's see. Patchwork dolls. We headed into the Undercity. Maybe you'll get lucky and catch sight of a real-life patchwork doll and see what all the fuss is about. It's not lucky. These mindless yet living creatures used to be people, and it sure seems like they're the puppet of something, but who only knows what? Maybe that thing that the gloaming calls the foreboding? The patchwork dolls are pretty easy to recognize. Their skin is all patched together, they tend to drool a lot, some of them have shelf fungus growing off their body, and they're as likely to as not trying to eat you. So these are the what's that game? I'm not that big of a video game person. So what's the game with the fungus people with the cordyceps? Chat, what's the name? They've got a TV show recently. Anyway, they're the monsters from that. That's horrifying. There's also vampires in this game. Cool. Basic vampires. They have bite. They can paralyze you. Neat. I like that. Last of Us. That's the one. Thank you, chat. Last of Us. And now straight up not people. Angels. Minor angels. Cultist friend. They hang out in the ether, do the thing. They don't mess with astral travelers. Once they're on the material, though, it gets messy. They don't belong here. They know it, and they go a little unhinged. It's why no one worth trusting drags them over into our world. Just theurgists who enslave them and hands of God who sacrifice them. Sometimes some get loose, and it's a new sort of problem. So look at that. They look like children. These are purified souls of people that then get sacrificed for healing. But they also suck your soul. Aha. Yeah, I like that. But there's multiple enemies. Greater angels. Yep, there we go. Archangels. So lots of eyes. I like that. The art is very clear on that. So cool. Attack and dethrone. Let's go punch God in the face. Big fan of the ability to do that in any game. Meanwhile, if you've got angels, you've also got demons, which is nice. The Asmir. Strange that we've in the Golem. Malabranch, a human-like marionette with wings stitched together from giant carnivorous swamp cranes and a long tail with a steel barb. I'm kind of glad we don't get art on that one. Yeah, okay, so we've got some really fucked up monsters. I love that. I actually do wish we got more art on the monsters. One of my few complaints on this game is that I wish there was more art, which I get. Getting art is hard. Being able to commission enough art for everything is very difficult and can get very expensive. Pay your artist. So I'm not going to hold it too much against them, but these are some really cool monster descriptions and concepts. I do wish we'd gotten some art for them. The ones we did get are pretty cool. Fungal colonies, cool. Mycelium chunks of mycelium tendrils rove around the caverns and tunnels. So wanderers. We got fungus. We got moving fungus people and fungus creatures. A whole section on giant carnivorous swamp cranes. With everything else that's happening, I don't think it's fair that we have to deal with giant carnivorous swamp cranes. But if there's one thing that my mom liked to beat into my head, besides a wooden spoon, is that life isn't fair. I love it. There's a whole point of the giant carnivorous swamp cranes. Hot jacks. So these guys, I guess. Monsters, cool, 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 cool. Monstrous centipedes. Those are great. Look at those guys. I'm not going to bring them close to the camera. You can just enjoy them as is. Rat swarms. Street cleaners. Huh. All right, let's go. Let's read on the street cleaners. It seemed like a good idea at first. I mean, it wouldn't have to. It wouldn't have to anyone. Sorry, let's start from the beginning. It seemed like a good idea at first. I mean, it wouldn't have to anyone with a lick of common sense, but no one accuses Silvers of common sense. See, the streets are grimy because of smog. Acid cleans up that grime right quick. If only there were, bear with me here, giant cubes of acidic jelly that roam the streets, cleaning off the stone. What could go wrong? It's not like anyone sleeps on the... Oh, lots of people. Lots of people sleep on the streets. Anyway, there are giant cubes of acidic jelly called street cleaners roaming silently around the city at night, and they kill an awful lot of animals and people, and half the assholes in the Silver just see that murder as an extension of their job, cleaning the streets. The only thing that helps us deal with them is that they're afraid of fire and sunlight. They started as a sort of magical construct handmade by mages from the Silver, but they've got a life of their own now, and no one is quite sure of their life cycle. It seems likely that once they've consumed enough, they split in half through a process called mitosis. My editor didn't say anything, but I saw her face when she read that paragraph, and she's obviously surprised I know that word, but it turns out you don't have to go to school for words to know words. The gelatinous cubes are full of neat stuff, though, because they digest animal bits, but not metal, and gangs of orphans sometimes grab torches and hunt them down. So we've got gelatinous cubes. Look at that little homage to one of the classic old school D&D monster, except, horrifying, because they're not down in the dungeons. They're employed by the rich to clean the streets that they never visit anyway, down below. And if their street cleaners occasionally devour an entire group of homeless people, oh well. This game is great. For soup, for revolution, we did it. We did it, boys. We did it. We got to the end of the game. I knew we were going to get to the rest of this game a lot quicker once we stopped deep diving so much. Got full. So let's just read the last bit of this, and as we sign off, and then we give some final last thoughts on the game. So, for soup, for revolution. Well, there you go. That's the Visitor's Guide to Penumbra City. It's been a labor of love by us in the Irani Federation, and we hope you find it useful. It's not objective, it's not perfect, but it's what we've got. If you feel like it, come over and say hi to us in the plaza. We'll be there, with revolution on our lips and soup. Between our lips? That sounds sort of gross. Revolution and soup. That's what we've got to offer. Help us make both. So there we go. Nice. And then we've got our character sheet. We've got reputation trackers. We've got a filled sample character sheet and little filled reputation tracker for that character here in the end. Just an example of what it looks like. And that is it. That is Penumbra City, a World of Harrow game. Now let's gather some final thoughts here, folks. Let's get some final thoughts on this game. So first of all, big recommend. Overall, big recommend on this game. You know what? Let's go ahead and switch over to let's swap over to the main screen where you just get my giant, absolutely ginormous face. And I'm going to step back a little. That's the good thing about having the wireless mic. I can step back and still speak clearly. And now my face is not quite so giant. It's more of a bust situation now. So Penumbra City. I like it. A big fan thumbs up, recommend, mainly for the setting, the game world. If you are in the market, if you are in the mood for sort of dark, horrifying, yet snarky and fun revolution against a tyrannical god king, this game is here for you. It is waiting for you. It is set up and ready to give you exactly what you want, especially if you are into high weirdness, some body horror. It's got a little bit of everything. If you like, you can go out into the world a little bit and explore. It's meant to be contained to the city, but within the city, there's enough variety. There's a little undercity where you can go exploring. There's dark and terrifying things. There's angels and demons all the way up to there, just like there's a whole other city that you're going to hopefully someday attack. And yet, with all that, it's not just some standard D&D adventure clone, right? It's also a community building game. Your characters start off fairly powerful and remain fairly powerful overall throughout the game. There is progression and extra abilities that you gain, so that's cool. The the quality of those can vary from character to class to character class, but there's also, a lot of that might be personal preference. But overall, it's a really good approach. And the fact that this game has really good mechanics for that faction building, and that reputation management, and it gives the characters well-defined benefits and rewards for that is huge, huge, big, big, huge fan of that. So with all that in mind, yeah, I cannot. Well, no, I can't recommend this highly enough. I was going to say cannot recommend. I can't. It's a good game. You should check it out. That said, the minor caveat. There are it may feel it's very much tuned to tell one specific kind of story. I feel, even though I just said it's got a lot of variety, and it does, you can do that, but it's really meant for one specific kind of story. That may be a plus or a minus in your book, depending on what you're looking for. Um, I feel like this game really shines when you approach it with the attitude that it's asking from you, right? When you approach it with that sort of like, I'm here to bring down the God King. I'm here for the revolution. I'm here to build that coalition. If you've got the buy-in, then I think there's going to be a lot of fun, especially for the right groups. Um, there's some minor editing things in the book. Again, I do wish that there was some small quality of life stuff. For example, I don't see, while there is an index, a basic index, there's no glossary, there's no, sorry, no, there's a table of contents. There's no index. There's a table of contents. I could have used an index. This game definitely could have benefited from one. Likewise, in a few other places, there were some lists that should have been numbered that were not. I would have liked to see a lot of, or not a lot, I would have liked to see some pointers to different parts in the guidebook itself, to help make certain aspects of the game a little clearer. Um, like I think some minor organizational hiccups, but nothing that couldn't be fixed with one more pass. If there's ever a second edition of the book, the game, I would be very interested in taking a look and seeing what they do with it. Low points again. Last time I'll say it, the gunslinger. Maybe I'm missing something. The creators of the game, if you watch this, I'm sorry. First of all, but also, I'm legitimately curious. Am I missing something about the gunslingers? Is there something there that I'm not seeing? Maybe was there a different intention with them? But again, I feel like I'm missing something because there's so many other character classes that are so cool and so detailed and so flavorful. And then the outsiders and the gunslingers feel underbaked. I feel like they're just not as cool as the rest of the game, and that's their main sin, right? They're just not quite as cool as the rest of the game is, and the rest of the game is super cool. So all that said, again, big fan, Penumbra City. You should check it out. And I am going to be moving on to the next game in our set of reviews. I don't know if it's going to be quite this many parts for every game, but I hope you enjoyed this. If you didn't, cool, no worries. It's the internet. Plenty of other stuff for you to watch. If you did enjoy this, though, and especially if you're watching this after on YouTube, please give me a like, get on the comments, ask me questions, and tell me games you would like me to review next, etc., etc. The next one that I'm going to do. So first of all, let's kind of wrap up this one. Thanks so much for watching this, for hanging out with me, and for taking this deep dive into Penumbra City. And I'm looking forward to the next game.